Where's my lighter? It's like I find the lighter, then I lose it like immediately.
Oh, it's right here.
Of course. Okay, thank you. So, I basically, I'm trying to explain the situation to Jody. So, like, I follow Gigs. I fucking love Gigs. I think Gigs is the fucking funniest. Granted, I will say, I mean, like, I'll say about everybody, even myself, problematic shit. You know what I mean? Problematic shit ahead. You feel me? Like, not all the time. And obviously, I'm, like, much better than I was about being problematic in the space. But, like, I'm smoking half cigarettes now. Try to cut down. You feel me? But I fucks with Gigs to the max. I try, like, sometimes I watch their videos and like some of them are just like, there's just a lot of shit to unpack. But I appreciate Gigs for just being like themselves, like just for being a person that's like not going like, they're not going to put on a show for you. They're like, they're entertaining, but they're not going to fucking go out of their way to fucking try to give you some shit that's not them. And I appreciate that. I appreciate all the wigs. I appreciate all the makeup. That is my bitch. I fucking love Gigs. But Gigs sometimes be asking questions of the day and shit. And some of the shit be borderline like transphobic, homophobic, all types of shit. And I think sometimes people don't understand that you could be sitting here talking about you love the gays and shit like that, but some of the shit you may think, say, or do is internalized homophobia. You feel me? See, as a fat person, as much as I'm aware of fat phobia, there are still times where fat phobia manifests in my life and I am fat phobic. And because I'm fat, it don't mean I can't be fat phobic. It just means that like my fat phobia is internalized fat phobia because I'm a fat person. And therefore I do understand fat phobia. I know that there's still unpacking to do, if that makes any sense. Not similar at all, but in the way that the system of white supremacy works, you can fucking acknowledge it, but you could still be helping that shit in ways without recognizing or without being checked, even though you feel like you know so damn much. So that's why I'm just coming here to just speak on this shit. Again, I want to make it clear, none of these videos are made to be an attack on nobody because, again, there's no point in attacking somebody for what the fuck they don't know. Like, that's, like, there's no point in that. Especially if they're not coming from, like, a disrespectful ass place. So, Gigs wrote, question of the day. You just told your secret to the person you love, lay next to every night, and they seem like the perfect mate. They tell you their secret, which is out of curiosity they slept with the same sex in the past. Do you continue to be with them? Why or why not? Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Back in the day, as recent as like a year ago, I was like, I don't think I could ever be with a bisexual, cis male person because I wouldn't be able to be with them without feeling like they're going to, you know, leave me for a dude. And it was like, not only is that homophobic as fuck, that's also like, that also shows me I don't trust my partner. If you sitting in a relationship and your partner is bisexual, queer, fluid in any other way, sexually speaking, and you not into whatever the fuck they already told you they're into or they tried before, that don't mean you gotta be into it or you gotta fucking be condoning of that shit in your relationship, or rather be accepting of that shit in your relationship. If in your relationship you're not cool with your partner expressing themselves sexually in a certain way, maybe that shouldn't be your fucking partner. However, I realize this is a hypothetical question, but people came out and they was coming out with homophobic shit. Because I was saying, I was like, if somebody was curious enough to be with someone of the same sex, and that was in the past, and that's a secret. That's a secret that they're sharing with you. Clearly, they feel comfortable enough to tell you this shit. Or rather, they feel comfortable because you just came out with your secret, whatever the fuck that shit may be. And I as I said before in other videos, sexual experience doesn't mean sexual identity. I'm going to say that again. Sexual experience does not indicate sexual identity. I can fuck every nigga I see for 10 years and marry a woman and still consider myself queer. I can be fucking cis dudes and still be a queer person. It doesn't, whatever the fuck I'm doing sexually, whatever the fuck I'm doing with my pussy, dick, gnome, whatever the fuck, it doesn't indicate anything about my sexual preference. You feel what I'm saying here? Or rather, it only gives you insight on one facet, and that might not even be some shit I fucks with anymore. Because again, sexuality for me is fluid. I realize that's not everybody, but I feel like there are a lot of people out there thinking, oh, because I slept with this person, oh, I must be XYZ, when in reality, you decide what the fuck you are. If you are a gay person, if you say, I'm gay, you're fucking gay. How can I dispute that with you? If you fuck somebody of the opposite sex, does that mean that you're no longer gay? You know what I mean? Does that really change the feelings you have with your gayness? Like, it really doesn't. You know what I mean? So my beef with this whole shit was like, people were like, oh, like, you could be curious, but you shouldn't be so curious that you fucking a man. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa. It's like, why is it that your partner's sexual history is so prevalent, like, or rather so important to you in terms of what they're doing right now with you? This is your primary partner. If your primary partner at one point in time was into like BDSM or into like maybe cross-dressing or perhaps at one point in time thought they were trans and they're no longer trans, that again does not mean shit in regards to how the fuck they identify right now in front of you. So I feel like we have to like really be understanding of people. And I remember like talking like with my ex-girlfriend, like I remember like, cause this is not super fucking far away when I was like, I couldn't be with a man who fucked dudes. I was like, I can't be with a man that fucks dudes. And it was just like, what does that have to do with me? Nothing. That has nothing to do with me. That has everything to do with my insecurity in terms of my relationship. But then again, at the same time, if I'm insecure in my relationship with you, off you telling me some shit that you used to do, then what's the point of our relationship? You know what I mean? What's the point of our relationship? Are we judging each other hardcore and shit, like we over here like looking into our sexual past and shit and analyzing that shit? Nobody owes you their sexual history. You feel me? I understand being with someone and wanting to know everything, but I think at the same time, whatever the fuck you know, what bearings does that have on the present? And that's what I'm just trying to get out of this whole conversation, because from what I got out of it, you know, people were trying to like, you know, shame others for being curious sexually. And then, you know, it also goes into a broader thing. I'm a messy bear. But, and this is kind of like a segue into like another kind of discussion that I wanted to have. And I mean, obviously call me out if I'm being disrespectful, call me out if maybe I'm taking up space where I shouldn't. But I was like reading something about trans women, and I believe it was like Laverne Cox was in an interview, and they were talking about how like, since there is no space for men to be attracted to trans women are largely like, you know, violated, killed, fucking treated very poorly, and also erased from being like actual people, instead of just being a trope and just being a one-sided die in terms of what a trans woman could look like, and what a relationship with a trans woman could be. And again, you know, I feel like when we're talking about sexuality, we're talking about preference, we're talking about interest, we're talking about curiosity, there really is no space, especially for cis dudes, to like fucking be like, I'm gay or I'm queer and I'm trying to figure out my sexuality, or rather I'm queer and I'm expressing my sexuality, you know? And there are a lot of things going on with any person. So to really like try to like lambast someone or to judge them for like their past when it may or may not affect the future at all, I think it's just like, it says a lot about that person. It says a lot about you as a partner and what the fuck you expect out of your partner. I remember for a long time I only wanted to date people who had like only had very few sexual partners, despite the fact that like I wanted my partner to have sexual experience. And I think at the same time, when you place things like when you place heavy importance on past sexual experience, past sexual partners, you're really not interested in being with that person. You're more interested in dissecting like the risk involved with being with this person, which is legitimate. But it's also an ignorant ass way to like, you know, kind of separate yourself from people just because their experiences are not exactly what the fuck you think are experiences that your partner should have. And again, that's a controlling ass fucking quality in terms of like trying to control something that's already happened, trying to control something, or rather trying to cut off a relationship because of what this person has done prior that doesn't sit with your values or doesn't sit with like your idea of what a relationship with you looks like. And again, I understand like people just not being interested in partners who are queer, like just not being interested in dating people who are queer because you're not a queer person and like you don't understand that lifestyle, or maybe you don't want to understand that lifestyle. However, if we're talking about strictly you're with a partner who you assume to be a cis straight person and they come out and they tell you that they're trans, or that they or that they used to sleep with the same sex, or that they used to or maybe like they're engaging in things that you're not into, I feel like that's grounds for a conversation more so than like breaking up and just being like, I don't want to be with you anymore. Because again, we're talking about a situation where like you've already kind of disclosed the secret to your partner, and for some reason your secret wasn't that serious, but like this person sleeping with someone of the same sex is like some big fucking to do. And I think that even posing a question like this speaks to like the larger issue that like it's even a fucking issue. You feel me? The fact that like we have to like be like, oh, like what would you do? Gigs pretty much, they post like juicy questions, or rather questions that garner a lot of interest and attention. But I think at the same time, they're also like, again, very homophobic, very transphobic in that, we try to, it's a way, rather when they post things like this, it's a way to kind of like put the focus on homophobia in a way so that the person who is homophobic doesn't feel homophobic. You feel what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, I thought this was a straight person, so the fact that they could have had like a gay experience, it really bothers me. When in reality, the fact that someone's experience unrelated to you could bother you in terms of their sexuality is, again, your problem. Your fucking problem. Your problem, not your partner's. And I think that like if you do recognize it as your problem and you want to talk to your partner, then it can become your problem in terms of like you and them. You and that other person having that problem, or having that conversation rather. Because again, I don't see it as a problem. I see it as, you just being uncomfortable in your own sexuality, in your own gender too. Because I feel like it's very like, it's like cis-sexist to like really be like, oh, like my partner, I assume them to be straight, and now that they're telling me about one sexual experience with someone of the same sex, now I'm seeing them as a gay person. Now their identity as a straight person is void. Now my identity as a straight person is being like contended, or rather my identity as a straight person is being challenged because I'm no longer with someone who I assume to be straight because I've decided their sexual experience dictates their sexual identity, if that makes any sense, which it should. But I just wanted to like go in because like this person was like, this is not, they were saying them wanting to break up with that person has nothing to do with internalized homophobia. But what they said was they couldn't be with someone who has previously been with a man because they said that they wouldn't know how to compete. As if being with a man means that like those qualities are intrinsically linked to like male-bodied people, and therefore like sexual experiences with them are different and somehow non-related to experiences with you as a non-cis dude. You know what I'm trying to say here? Like, you're trying to make it out to seem like, oh, like this person had sex with a person that I am not, or has sex with someone who has perhaps genitalia that I do not possess. Therefore, that genitalia must be the crux of like why they dealt with this person, and therefore I cannot compete with this person sexually because I don't have, quote unquote, a penis, quote unquote, the sexual tools that this person had that my partner had sex with that I'm uncomfortable about. So again, it also like looks into, gender and sexuality, and also like genitalia in terms of what it means in terms of like sexual experiences, what it means in terms of like relationships, and also what it means in terms of like, gender speaking, your partner sleeps with someone of the same sex. That doesn't necessarily mean they're of a different gender, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they have the same genitalia as that person. However, I think that what Giggs was posing primarily was for their primarily like female-bodied contributors who obviously read this and were like, I'm in bed with my man, and my man tells me he used to fuck a dude, or he fucked a dude one time out of curiosity, and now like all the shame that's coming out of like dudes having curiosity about sexuality, dudes not even having that space, as I said before, dudes don't have space for like to like really like explore their sexuality, and I feel like or rather explore their sexuality in a non-homophobic way. Because I feel like as soon as a man sleeps, kisses, shows any type of affection towards another man, we're automatically seeing them labeled as gay or suspect or sus. But I think that we're actually not looking at the entirety of human sexuality, and how, you know, sexualizing body parts or sexualizing excuse me. I lost myself. Shit. Merp. Damn it. My rant. I suppose, like, to just, like, recap all of it, I just feel like, while we're talking about, sexuality and sexual experience and what that means in terms of, like, your cis, straight-ass relationship, I think we have to just be, like, mad honest with ourselves about why the fuck we don't want to be with a partner who's like had sex with like a dude, you know what I mean, or had sex with someone of the same sex, in terms of like, or rather has sex with someone who has the same genitalia as them. I feel like when we look at situations like that and we lambast or we side eye or we are disgusted, I feel like, again, that's internalized homophobia. There's nothing wrong with a man being curious and fucking another man. What does that have to do with your relationship? Zero. Goose egg, donut, bagel, nothing. But at the same time, I find always it's like that woman, like, or rather that person, always attributing their partner being with someone of the same sex with like their own insecurity of being left for a man. And I feel like that, again, is your problem. That is your problem, and that's something you have to talk about with your partner. But your partner fucking someone of the same sex prior to your relationship is not a problem, and it shouldn't be. And if it is a problem, then you need to talk about that with your partner and really check yourself on your internalized homophobia. But again, that is something that people have to work on their own fucking free will, their own spiritual fucking guide, I suppose. But I don't want to be silent about this. Like, I definitely like went in and I was like being hella respectful to that person. But you know, people hate being called racist. People hate being called homophobic, but they won't challenge like the things that they do, the microaggressions that cause like homophobia, or rather that aid it and help it and continue its survival in our society. So the next time you say, oh, I could never be with a man that's been with a man, challenge why the fuck that is. Is it because you're afraid of being left for a man? And if that's the case, then maybe you don't want to be with that person. Maybe you're afraid that person's gonna fucking leave you. You know what I mean? Like the idea that like your partner being with a man means that your partner's gonna leave you for a man is 100% something that's like not correlated, and it's something that's 100% like has to do with your insecurity with your partner and your negotiating your relationship and what that looks like. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you guys for hanging out. Take care. Love you. Kiss the babies. Bye.